Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to make sauce in stir fry. Sauce play an extremely important role in many cuisines. Can you imagine barbecue rib without barbecue sauce? Can you imagine chili without chili sauce? So many well-known dishes, the sauce is the primary defining factor of that dish. Over the years, I learned that this is particularly true in cooking vegetable in stir fry because stir fry can bring out the fresh aspect of the vegetable. So by adding a sauce, in some way, you are covering up the natural flavor and texture of the vegetable. The first example I'm going to show you in stir fry is broccoli. My son loved this way how I cook the broccoli. Now this broccoli has no sauce. The only thing that I use to cook this broccoli is with garlic and with some seasoning, which I put together my basic seasoning mix. Again, if you want to learn more about the individual components in this seasoning mix, you can take a look at this video. So in this dish, I first stir fry the broccoli in oil, and then I add a little bit of water to steam it. Since I stir fry it with garlic, the sauce have a strong garlic flavor, and my son really enjoy mixing that sauce with rice. The next demonstration I want to show you is an extension of the single broccoli stir fry. And this dish actually is a broccoli medley with other vegetables. Again, there are no sauce being created. Only thing that are added to this dish during cooking is water to steam the vegetables. The next example I'm going to show you is a vegetable dish with mushroom, green bean, and carrot. Now in this dish, again, I do not add any additional material to the sauce other than use my basic seasoning mix. But then I add wine as a source of fluid to steam the vegetable. So when the dish is done, basically the sauce is a wine sauce. And I think in stir fry, most people do not actually add too much in creating a sauce because the natural flavor of stir fry is the strongest aspect of the cooking technique. However, for most people who are not getting used to eat vegetable in savoring their natural flavor and texture, they like to have a sauce because most of our dishes these days are covered with sauce. So the next demonstration I'm going to show you is how to make a light sauce in a vegetable stir fry. There are two commonly used sauce in Asian cooking. The first one is oyster sauce, and the second one is hoisin sauce. If you look at ketchup, you know it is thickened. So the oyster sauce and hoisin sauce is also thickened. So when you add this sauce to the vegetable stir fry, you will actually create a slightly thickened sauce. Of course, it depends on how much that you add. So next, I'm going to show an example of a vegetable medley with yellow squash and zucchini and a couple other vegetables. First of all, I'm going to add some oyster sauce to the vegetable medley. And then I follow by adding some hoisin sauce. As I mentioned, both of these sauces are thickened, so they actually will create a sauce for the dish. However, this is a very light sauce, just enough to coat the surface of the vegetables. Even though these sauces are very light, but I'm sure you probably can tell that when you compare this dish to a dish that without adding this sauce, there will be a very different eating experience. So for my personal preference, when I stir fry vegetables, I prefer to stir fry them without any sauce by just adding seasoning mix. At this point, I would like to tell you a story of my childhood food experience. When I was growing up, my family liked a particular vegetables, and I hated it. And they would cook it with pork. And what I would do is that I would always pick out the pork and leave the vegetables. I have a classmate which he was my best friend when I was young, and he and I hang out a lot together. Quite often after school, I would go to his home, and we would do homework together and we play. And his family were very nice to me, and they would always invite me stay for dinner. They often cook the same vegetable that I don't like. So the first time when I eat that, they had this vegetable and they cook it with chicken and in a heavy sauce, almost like a gravy. And I put them on top of my rice, and I thought, wow, this is the best dish that I ever have. Only later on I find out it contained the vegetable I don't like. So as you can see here, a sauce could make a huge difference in how a dish and the ingredients in the dish to be perceived. I remember once the chef that I learned my cooking from during my college days, he told me that you can stir fry a pair of old socks. As long as you have a good sauce, people are going to eat it. So in order to make a sauce, we need to decide how we're going to use the sauce. And there are three ways to use sauce in stir fry. And one is that a sauce that are relatively thin that to cover noodles. That is very much similar to a spaghetti noodles. The another one is a thicker sauce that we use for mixed with rice. And the third one is a really thick sauce that will cling on to the food ingredients. That's in the case you will find it in teriyaki chicken or in orange chicken. Many of you probably familiar during Thanksgiving, you will create a sauce with flour. However, in stir fry, you always use cornstarch to create a sauce because the cornstarch will gel together much faster than flour. I'm going to show you two ways how to add the cornstarch to the ingredients in the wok. The first way is that to create a cornstarch suspension. This simply by mixing usually about 1 part of cornstarch to 2 to 3 parts of water. The second way, which is the way that I use most of the time, is you can add the cornstarch directly to the ingredients in the wok. Before I'm going to give you some demonstration how it is done, I want to first of all make the clarification is that there's really no precise measurement of how much cornstarch that you add to your ingredients because each cooking instance has different circumstances and different foods, different amount of fluid in there. So a lot of this is a matter of basically trial and errors. And pretty soon you can kind of read how much that you want to add based on what you are cooking. In general, if you are not sure, you add a small amount first. You can always add more. I call this titration. But you don't have to worry. If you add too much, you can always add more water and to bring the thickness of the gravy down. The first example I'm going to show you is that is a vegetable medley dish I'm going to put over some pan-fried noodles. So I want quite a bit of sauce. So I already have some water in it. So I in this case, I make up a cornstarch suspension. Make sure you shake it up really well. I put it in a bottle and then I pour it over the ingredients. At this point, I want to make sure that I have the heat at low setting because if I have high heat, the cornstarch will start to gel almost too quickly and I might lose control of it. As you can see, after a few quick stir fry, the fluid has thickened significantly to form a gravy-like texture. I then put this over a noodle dish. The next example I'm going to show you is that where I sprinkle the cornstarch directly over the surface of the ingredients in the wok. This is a teriyaki chicken dish, and I want the gravy really thick to cling to the chicken. So I start out by sprinkle cornstarch over the surface of the chicken. After quickly stir fry the ingredients, I decided that it's not thick enough, so I add some more. And this is what I mean by titration. And after a few stir, it achieved the thickness that I want. And this is what it looked like at the end. Of these two methods of how to add cornstarch to the food ingredient to create the gravy, I prefer obviously the second one because it's just simpler. I don't have to take time to make a cornstarch suspension, so I can do it more spontaneously. It is important when you sprinkle the cornstarch directly into the food ingredients in the wok, you should start stirring almost immediately. Otherwise, they will form particulates that are not pleasant to eat. Quite often, what I would do is that I would turn the heat off completely, and then I add the cornstarch, I mix it up, and then I turn the heat back on. And in this case, I will be ensure that this particular matter will not be formed. So I have given you an example of how you make a thin gravy to a very thick gravy that will cling to the food ingredients. And obviously, you can do anything in between. For those of you who have young children, making a gravy to go with vegetables or other stir fry really will please the children. They will enjoy it because it can mix it into the rice. Clearly, I was fooled in my friend's house. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to receive notification of my future video postings, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you next time.